me earlier to fail to honour another member of the Melbourne Mining Club Steering Committee, Barry Fitzgerald, who was this week named by Diggers and Dealers as Premier Resources Journalist of the Year. Please join with me in congratulating on table 2, Barry Fitzgerald. And now, my pleasure to introduce Patrick Smith, the Managing Director of AMC Consultants, who's going to introduce our speaker, Steele Lee. Patrick.
Mr. Chow Chun Lee, Steele Lee, has been the Executive Chairman of China Molybdenum Company, CMOC, since 2014. Mr. Lee has been with CMOC for over 12 years. He joined CMOC in 2007 and has been responsible for mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, capital markets, and investor relations. He was born and grew up in Shanghai. He holds a bachelor's degree in international business law. Mr. Lee started his career with an audit and consulting firm. Then he moved into the financial sector. In 2003, Mr. Lee joined CFC, a private family company specializing in equity investment. CFC went on to become the principal shareholder of CMOC. Mr. Lee led the execution of CMOC's IPO in Hong Kong in 2007. Then he joined CMOC as the Executive Director and Vice Chairman. CMOC has been growing fast and growing internationally, and in recent years, that growth has Australia as CMOC's first stop outside of China. Members and guests, please welcome Steele Lee to share a fascinating story.
Thank you, Patrick, for the kind introduction. I'm still a little bit nervous because the stage is a little bit high and also the light. Before I start my speech, please accept my condolences on the passing of Sir R.V. Pablo, the patron of Melbourne Mining Club. Without his contribution, all of this may not happen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such great honor to be here. As you can see that probably from the color of my tie, red tie in China means a very, very important event and a very important moment. So it's my great honor. MMC has a very high reputation and contributes a lot promoting global mining industry. Mr. Moran, I would like to thank you again for the invitation. I would like to acknowledge all the distinguished guests, including Mr. Long Zhou, our Chinese Consul General in Melbourne. I would like to thank my friend Peter Aka, who introduced me to this great event. I would also like to thank my colleagues coming with me to share this moment. Zhang Jing, our Group Head of Strategy and Business Development based in London, and my colleagues, management teams from Northparks, Hubert Lehman, the Managing Director, Jacques Slobanchi, Finance Director, and Stacy Kelly, our Head of HR and Safety, Environment, and Community. Very important role. I think as a tradition of a global mining industry, I would like to start with safety share. "20 years ago, on November 24, 1999, an air blast event occurred at the Northparks mine, which resulted in death of 4 people. Northparks mine and other block caves have learned valuable lessons from this event, and all these lessons learning are now incorporated in the design and operation of block cave mines across the world. Later this year, CMOC will commemorate the 20th anniversary of this air blast event. And once again, this event reminds the mining industry that while we are in competition with each other in various markets, we must cooperate with each other to improve the health and the safety for our people. Okay, as Patrick said, that today I would like to take this opportunity to give a brief introduction about CMOC. Meanwhile, telling our story to share with you some of our observations on the mining industry. CMOC, or CMOC, comes from China Molybdenum Company Limited. People used to call us China Moly, but now China Moly is too misleading. So we're not only in China, and we're not only in the moly business. So now we call ourselves CMOC, or CMOC. Just like a BHP came from Broken Hill, Protre. Still hard to pronounce, but I think a BHP is much easier. Yeah. But how many people still remember that discovery of Broken Hill? That was in 1883. This is just like many of our people almost forgot that Rio Tinto was originally incorporated in Spain, and it's the name of the river of Spanish, in Spanish. Anyway, so name is just a simple, and we hope that in the future, the CMOC can be remembered as a great mining company like BHP or Rio Tinto. It's too small, anyway. As I said, that CMOC are not only in China. Actually, the easy way to summarize our geographic presence is A, B, C, D, E. Australian, A for Australian, B for Brazil, C for China, D for DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and E for Europe. We are originally from Luoyang City, Henan Province, central part of China. Luoyang City is an ancient city. Used to be the capital city for 13 dynasties. So there's an old saying in China, if you want to know about 5,000-year history of China, go to Luoyang, because Luo River is the birthplace of China old civilization. Luanchuan, a county in the Luoyang city, is where we own and operate a moly tungsten mine. It's quite a unique mine. It's a 55,000 ton per day, large-scale open pit. In Australia, we own and operate Northparks in New South Wales. It's a highly automated and very efficient underground block cave mine. As Patrick said, that Australian is very important to CMOC because Australian is our first stop outside of China. In Brazil, we own two business sectors, niobium and the phosphate. We do the mining business all the way down to the downstream, and we produce ferroniobium and also various phosphate fertilizer products. In DRC, we own and operate TFM, Tenke Fungurume, a real world-class high-grade copper cobalt mine in the world. And I think everyone in the copper or cobalt industry knows about TFM. Recently, we have added E to our geographic presence. We have completed acquisition and the full consolidation of IXM, used to be known as Louis Dreyfus Metals, a world leading non-ferrous metals trading platform. And it's based in Geneva, Europe. So that's why we put E. And of course, IXM is a service and network is across the world. If you look at the chart, I think we have set up a very interesting but also very strategic layout located in those resources-rich countries with great potential, but also well-covered Asia, Africa, South America, and also Oceania, which will position us for future development and growth. Again, we're not only in the moly business. We have built up a very, very unique portfolio with commodities of scarcity. We start with moly business, and we remain one of the global leading primary moly producers. We're also the largest tungsten producer and also the second largest niobium and cobalt producer globally. We're an important copper producer of annual production over 200,000 tons. And also we're the second largest phosphate fertilizer producer in Brazil. Everybody knows copper, and I believe more and more are becoming familiar with cobalt, a critical material for the battery for electric vehicles. Although EV sector, I think, only accounts for about 20% of cobalt's total consumption in 2018. And there's various research institutions, and you can see those reports. And I think everyone is predicting that cobalt consumption in the EV sector could easily be tripled by 2025. We're also have commodities that maybe a few people know, like tungsten. Tungsten is an interesting metal and actually a fundamental material for hot metal that is widely used to upgrade mechanical manufacturing industry. We also have moly and niobium, which are specialty metals that used to produce the high-end and the value-added steel products. I still remember when we did our Hong Kong IPO back to 2007, a taxi driver asked me, because of your IPO and newspaper everywhere, now our Hong Kong people learn a new Chinese character called molybdenum. What's that? Yeah. Actually, moly is a very important element for the steel industries. And one of its key functions is anti-corrosion. You know the great bridge that connects Macau, Hong Kong, and Zhuhai? I think that bridge probably consumed more than 3,000 tons of moly, so just to give you a sense. Mining is an old and traditional industry, but it is so necessary and important to our modern society. So like our fellows, we are very proud that we're producing and providing those material that critical to technology progress, industrial upgrade, and eventually to a better quality life for our human being. I think also from investor perspective, if we look at our unique portfolio, I think that deserves for a premium, right? Because I'm pretty sure that you cannot find a listed company with size and liquidity that can give you the exposures to all this interesting and especially metals like niobium, like cobalt, like moly, like tungsten at the same time. Right? So please don't be jealous about our slightly higher PE multiple. I think that deserves for that. I have put some milestones for people to better understand of our growth story. The rebirth of CMOC was in 2004 when we reformed our ownership structure and introduced CFC as strategic investor, who became our principal shareholder in 2013. So we are totally different from SOE, just to clarify. Having a devoted and ambitious principal shareholder with accountability and wisdom, actually I think it's a fortune to an organization. And I think that's why shareholder activism becomes more popular in the West. Anyway, that's a separate topic. We did our Hong Kong IPO in 2007 and dual listed in Shanghai 2012. And we have done a few fundraising. So as you can see that the capital market is playing a very important role with our growth. Probably the same to other mining companies as well. So the institutional investors are also very important stakeholders. I think they are the ones that put their trust in us and also give us the money. As you can see that we are very lucky to have executed 2 transforming transactions in 2016 during the downturn of the cycle. As people always say, timing is everything. Of course, there are many stories behind this chart, but I don't think I have time to go through today. Maybe later, if we have a chance that I can share with all of you more about the stories, especially after some drinks. Maybe. I want to also say a few words about Northparks. As I said, that Australian is so important to CMOC because it's the start of of our international journey. We acquired Northparks in 2013. Rio Tinto has built up a very strong establishment and a team at Northparks, and we're lucky to inherit all these and carry on the path. In 2014, we achieved 30% cost reduction. And through all the initiatives actually identified by our people at site. In the same year, Northparks won New South Wales Mining Environment and Community Excellence Award. In 2015, we have achieved 100% automation for our underground block cave operation. Before our acquisition, it's about 60%. So you can see that Northparks always maintain the leading position in this block cave operation. And also, Northparks maintain a leading position within our group in terms of innovation. In 2016, we start sub-level cave, and also we have achieved historical high production level at the mine and also at the mill in 2017. So a lot of achievements on the operational side. But I'm really proud that we have actually enhanced our strong relationship with the community and also the local government, Parks Shire Council and also Forbes Shire Council. We have built up very good and a strong relationship with our joint venture partner, Sumitomo Metals Mining and also Sumitomo Corporation. They have been very supportive. So just 2 days ago, we have celebrated the 25th anniversary for Northparks with all our stakeholders at Parks. That was a great event. So all these actually have given a very strong confidence to our commitment to the long-term investment into this country, into this region, into the community, into our asset, and also into our people. As you probably know that early this year, we have announced our approval for a quite significant new investment of total $292 million over the next 3 years. We're going to develop a new block cave and also conduct a 1 million ton annual throughput expansion project. So I think that's a very, very brief story about CMOC and Northparks. I would like to take this opportunity to also share some of our observation. If go back to this international presence, what does that mean? I think at first I would say that geopolitics, the country risk, political risk, the policy risk, with the ever-tightening regulatory environment around the world, I think a global operation is becoming more and more challenging for the mining industries and the mining companies. You are seeing headlines every day, right? So I don't need to give you examples. Different geographic location also means different language, different culture, different practice, and different people with different background. So lots of difference. How to balance and how to integrate. How to keep the good and get rid of the bad. I think this requires us to maintain an absolutely open and inclusive attitude. So when we are looking at investment into a new country, a high-risk region, we need to ask ourselves, are we prepared? Mining industry is a cyclical business. One way try to mitigate the risk is to have a well-diversified portfolio. Some products may outperform, while some others are underperforming. That way, we can produce healthy cash flow to ensure the shareholders' return. You know, I always have a dream or have a wish to create a very powerful portfolio that can make us ride on the bull. Meanwhile, or even more important, to get through the bear. It's not easy. As you can see, that even we have built up this unique portfolio, we still have a long way to go. Behind the portfolio, I think, is our long-term outlook for different commodities. The outlook comes from strong research capability. The key of research is the in-depth understanding of industrial ecosystem. We need to form a view on the supply-demand balance and then seek opportunities into the industries and the markets that are emerging or growing or evolving or even restructuring. In other words, the real research capability is to foresee the future trend. Different commodities requires different knowledge, and different ore body requires different mining and the processing expertise. So when we are entering into a new commodity, we need to ask ourselves, are we prepared? And if you look at our growth story, and if I change our company name with each of those majors, like BHP, Rio, Anglo, and extend the timeline to over 100 years, I'm sure the path looks similar. Why? Because the history of mining industry is a history of mergers and acquisition. So mining is not only about geology, not only about metallurgy, it is a quasi-financial industry. It's very capital intensive, not only for those big capex projects, but also maybe more for M&A. Balance sheet management is so critical at all times. This is always the focus from our board. For example, I think although our operating cash flow is hit by the weak commodity price, but our net debt ratio still remains below 15%. Why? It's because we have over $3.5 billion equivalent cash sitting in the bank. Persistence and the patience are equally important. As I always say, sometimes not doing something is much more difficult than doing something. I remember there's a book, I think in the CESCO 2017, and the book called Mining for Value, which presented 12 lessons that industrial leaders have learned from the super cycle. And the conclusion after all these 12 lessons is, I recall, the key is to remain disciplined at all things. So it's not easy. I think if, say, turning right is to deploy capital and get prepared for future growth, and then turning right is to repatriate the cash to the shareholder and to continue the yield play. Right, so which way, which direction we're going to choose now? By sharing the story of Northparks, I also want to say that closing a transaction is just the beginning, and integration is so important and related to the success or failure. The nature and the logic of mining business is very simple. They always maintain cost competitiveness and highest efficiency. But how? How to achieve that? And how to combine the best from the West and the East to achieve that? I think I'm running out of time. I just want to thanks again for the MMC for this great opportunity to share our story. CMOC is very young in this old mining industry, but we are ambitious and we dream big. We keep our promise and we are building up our track record because we know that the credit and reputation are important assets. I think at the end, I would like to borrow the motto of Melbourne City. It's in Latin, but translated into English means strength by going. Or we gather strength as we go. But I think after I discuss all the above and all the questions I have raised, I would like to add one word to this motto, that is together. So we gather strength as we go together. All of us are facing lots of uncertainties and challenges nowadays, I think. We can walk alone and take all the risks by ourselves, or find the right partner to fight together. So we believe the partnership will be the key word for the future mining world. Thank you again. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that deserve your ticket. And also, congratulations to Northparks for the 25th anniversary. Great job, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steele, for that terrific presentation. And I'm sure we have some questions. Steele has kindly agreed to answer some questions from the floor. So if you're asking a question, please put your hand up. We have a couple of microphones on this side and that side. Please put your hand up, wait for the microphone, and state your name and affiliation. While we have a question already over here, so please.
Thank you for your presentation. Adrian Prendergast from Morgans Financial. As you showed us, you've had a great track record of growing by acquisition, and you see acquisitions as an integral part of your strategy. And you have a very diversified portfolio of market exposures. If you were going to rank or give a very high level priority to where future opportunities might be in acquisitions, would you rate new growth markets, such as battery minerals or related markets, as more attractive than maybe more traditional markets that are being essentially starved of capital investment? Just if you could just comment on traditional versus new markets from a position or perspective of acquisitions.
Thank you. I think this is back to my presentation that actually behind the commodity, behind the portfolio, is what our strategic thinking, right? And I think that's related to your question. First of all, we are not internally. We're not say here's the black name list. This is something that we won't touch, or intentionally exclude some category or commodity. So just to be clear. But you are right that internally there will be preference, there will be prioritized, right? So, for example, that the material related to the EV sector will be more attractive. Why? I think that's all related to the future trend, and also very important. Are you a believer for that? This is very important. Are you believing that EV is the future trend? I think if you're a believer, that you should like we do, look into the opportunity in these sectors. Because if it's a trend, it's not something that we're here talking about 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or even we're talking about 20 years, 30 years, or even longer. That's a structural change. So every time in a structural change, we think there's a long-term opportunity. Thank you.
Joe Kukutsa, Managing Director of Elmira International. Thank you very much for your presentation. I guess the classic growth strategies of the mining industry has been through exploration, acquisition and expansion. CMSC has done very well on the last two, and very successfully by the looks of it. What does exploration do? Is it part of your strategy mix, and in particular, greenfields exploration?
Thank you. Actually, a very good question. I want to go back to the competitiveness when I talk about the nature or the logic of mining business, right? So what brings us the competitiveness? I think one is on the resource side. So this is given by the God, right? I mean, we want to have a tier 1 or world-class asset. That's on the resource side. But also equally important is we continue to improve and focusing on efficient operation and also cost reduction. I think that's equally important. So go back to your question that resource, which is either through successful exploration or through successful acquisition. But anyway, this is very important. Yes, in the past that we are kind of a focus on the acquisition. This is also try to obtain the best quality of the resources. But I think now within our portfolio we have built up, right? We have also identified the potentials within our existing portfolio. And they're actually quite interesting and very exciting exploration progress all around our asset. In Australia, we have some very interesting drill holes, and no need to mention in TFM, a lot of exciting drill holes, but also in Brazil and also in China as well. So I think within the portfolio that we have built up right now, we have more flexibility, and because we know the great potential, we're gonna spend more money to see if we can have a successful exploration within our portfolio. But also, in the meantime, we will continue to keep an eye and working very hard on the external opportunity. That is, try to find the best timing and the best opportunity to add into our portfolio more world-class assets. Thank you.
And thanks very much for your presentation. And my name is Lily. I'm from Mining One as a geotechnical engineer. I know CMOC has different mines in like Australia and the DRC. And my question is, like, will CMOC apply a consistent approach for their mines in 3 different continents? And will they apply a Chinese or Western approach in their TFM in DRC? And because in Australia we have like a stable and almost have no political issue, but in DRC, I think there's a lot of political risk. How do you think, and how do you manage this kind of risk? Thanks.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges that I have shared with all the audience. I think that's the challenge for the industry. If you have a global operation, that you have to deal with that, and also, I won't say that the general sentiment of the mining industry is as friendly as before. So that will create even more challenging environment. But there's some, fundamental and principles that we always need to stick, right? Like, the safety, like the protection of environment, like the contribution on the community. All these are the social license that we can operate wherever we are, right? Whether in Australia, or in DRC, or in Brazil, or in China, right? That's the universal rule, I think. But yes, some region, some country may be tough, but you just need to stick to your principles. And I think that's why we are very proud. The ESG report, I think we're ranked on the top, together with BHP and Rio. I think I forgot the other one, but anyway, so that's ranked by MSCI in 2018. So really demonstrate our commitment to the highest standard for ESG. Thank you.
One more question, please. Is there
last question? Yeah.
Last question.
Thank you very much. Owen Hegarty from EMR Capital, the new force in mining private equity. Steele, thank you very much for wonderful, wonderful address. Appreciated, and congratulations to you and to CMOC on your achievements over a period of time, and congratulations, by the way, to the Northparks mine on 25 years. Well done. Thank you also very much for reminding us about the safety, nothing more important, and also the attaining and retaining and sustaining of the social license. So thank you very much for all of that. My question, very simple. Like you, we are very long cobalt at our mine, our Capricorn copper mine here in Australia, in Queensland, and at our Lubambe copper and cobalt mine in Zambia. We've seen the price of cobalt come from $90,000 per tonne down to $25,000 per tonne. My question is, when is it going back to $90,000 per tonne, please? Thank you, Steele.
I think I met Owen before once, I guess. This is at the moment that we were actively looking at Mantavi. By the way, congratulations on that as well. This is also the question I want to get an answer. But that's the cyclical part of our business, right? Although a little bit painful, but that's the world we're living. That's why, we're working very hard to think about how to address this challenge. But we are in a cyclical business. But mining is also a long-term business, as we all know, right? So if we have a very good quality asset that can be very long-lived, so which means will give us the chance to get through different cycles. And I think, one day that the cobalt price will back to 90,000. But just a few comments. I think, sometimes it's not good, to see the price going up too quickly, right? Especially when I say the trend, when I say that we're providing the material to change, the life quality, right, for the future. So for this EV sector, I would like to probably be more than happy to see that, this trend is confirmed and determined, and everyone that follow that trend and, put more investment and really develop this industry. And I think that will give us even longer and the sustaining growth of cobalt and other metals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Steele, for answering these questions. And I hope that's enough, Owen, for you to maintain the faith in your cobalt mines. Please, welcome to the stage Patrick Smith, Managing Director of, John Tivy. Welcome to the stage John Tivy, partner of White & Case, who's going to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Steele, on behalf of the Melbourne Mining Club and the gathering here today, I'd like to say thank you for your wonderful description of the growth of your business. A business with geographical coverage that can be neatly summarised in the first 5 letters of the alphabet, with a diversified portfolio of scarce commodities and a higher PE ratio, a track record of growth with war stories that can only be revealed over a drink, and still I'd love to hear those stories, that aims to build a portfolio that can ride the bull and manage the downturns, and obviously each new commodity that's invested in has to be assessed on that basis. And most importantly, it's a business that's proudly celebrating 25 years of the Northparks operations, and a team that made a wonderful contribution to that and has successfully generated one of the world's leading 100% underground automated mines. So Steele, on behalf of Melbourne Mining Club, thank you very much for a wonderful speech, and we wish you all the best in your future growth efforts with the company.
I have to do this. Thank you.
Thanks, Steele.